mistake that men make, well, that number one boundary mistake that men make, and it also makes you weak. So I said it better in the written title. But at the end of the day, I always say this, it's important for men to have boundaries, boundaries that they know of, and boundaries that they are keeping their word on, that they have set for themselves. And granted, the constant in life is change. So sometimes you may got to tweak your boundaries and change them a little bit. But some men think that being easygoing or going with the flow or passive is something that women may be a bit more attracted to. But it's actually the opposite. Because when you're easygoing, too easygoing, a woman's gonna instantly discover that, either just in your demeanor and the energy that you're bringing, or she's going to challenge and test you to see, right, if that comes up. And women definitely test you to see if you can stay grounded, stay consistent, and stay thinking smart under pressure, because that shows if you're a leader or not, or if you can lead. That shows in her mind, like, okay, this dude is going to have our backs if shit falls apart. If the world was ending tomorrow or zombies started taking over in the place we live in, this man would know how to lead me, our family, etc. through that, right? I'm being very dramatic with that example, but women are looking for that because they're looking for somebody to not only help lead them, but lead the trajectory of the relationship. And if she plans on having a family with you, be able to be the leader and steering the family of where they need to go. Hey, welcome everyone. I think you're in the wrong live because my name is not Lizzo, unless you were making a sarcastic joke, which I don't find funny because me and her look nothing alike, the rapper Lizzo. So, welcome if you're here. I'm actually Joy Rochelle if you haven't been to my channel yet. And tonight we're talking about the number one boundary mistake that men make. And when you make this mistake consistently, it comes off that you're weak. That sends a signal out that you're weak. You could possibly be a doormat. It could tell a woman that I can walk all over you. You know, masculine women definitely eat that up because they want to be the authority and lead. So this is definitely a boundary mistake that if you're making, you want to course correct and change it and flip it for several different reasons. And also because it makes you come off weak. And I know men out there don't want to come off weak, right? And it also just, it does, it weakens who you are as a being, as how you're expressing your masculinity, right, in everyday life. So where's my place? I don't know what you mean by that, but I'm based on the East Coast in the United States. I don't know. It's like after 12 a.m. in the United States. So I don't want to assume that you're in the States if you're chiming into this chat and this live. It may be daytime where you are, which is the cool thing. Like, you know, doing this live can like reach far and long to men all over the world. So needless to say, how to not come off weak. Well, we can talk about that too. Really great question. So for the guys here who are here now, the people who are here now, what do you think the number one boundary mistake is that makes men come off as weak? Do you have any ideas? Can you think of anything in your life that, you know, you didn't have a boundary with and it came off weak, or something that may have happened while you were dating a woman. Oh, please, letting her speak, that's a little sexist. I don't know about that, but I can flip that and saying, like, if a woman, hi, welcome, Zayden. If a woman is speaking to you in a certain way, like almost like reprimanding, or she's your mother, right, out in public, that's clearly a sign. If you observe this in any way or have experienced this with a woman, especially if she's consistently doing it, it's becoming a pattern. That's clearly a telltale sign that you're weak, right? Because she thinks that it's okay to do that. And so you're coming off weak. I'm not saying you are really weak, but you're coming off weak, and that's weakening, yeah, you being a masculine man, which this channel is all about. It's called The Healthy Masculine. So for the guys who are here, drop your thoughts in the chat of what was a boundary that a woman or somebody in your life overstepped, right? And looking back on it, you're like, yeah, that was a mistake. I could have done something differently had I been able to go back in time and do it differently. Nah, the man corrects the woman. You at least giving good advice. And look, I understand what you're saying. But I also will say, don't correct her in a way where it's coming off like rude, like disrespectful. You can set a boundary and be very grounded, tasteful, but still firm, so that she understands, right? And with your leader energy. And so since nobody is typing any thoughts around what the number one boundary mistake is that men make, right, that make them weak, is saying yes when you really want to say no. Very big for my men who are out there who are like people pleasers, Mr. Nice Guy, a bit more passive. Because when you do that, it's one, telling her that I don't respect myself. And so I'm showing you that I don't respect myself. So this is giving you the freedom to not respect me as well. So making excuses for teenage boys not cleaning up when I was telling them to do so. Look, Preston, real talk. It doesn't only have to be with women, right? If you're not being a leader and some type of example for young men and young boys out there, that's being modeled for them, even if they don't say anything. So they may think that like that's okay. So very great example of, somebody that's not necessarily a woman who's not respecting your boundaries and what you're saying to them. I would be crucified how I dress all the time and how I would walk. I'm sorry to hear that, Glenn. Bug's Life, Truth or Dare. Maybe we can play that at the end. A fun little game, and you can ask me a truth or a dare. As long as it's respectful and genuine, that's my boundary. I'm not going to answer anything disrespectful or highly sexualized. That's not what this channel and content is all about. But thanks for chiming in. Maybe something we can play later on at the end. But back to what I was saying. So if you're just joining us, this is all about, the number one boundary that men make, especially with women that have them like come off as weak. Because like I said before, women are going to test you. So say, for instance, I'm going to give you a very simple example. You're dating a woman, or maybe even you're married, and you have plans to go out with your friends. Maybe if you're married, life is happening in a very different way compared to when you were single. So maybe this is an opportunity for you to just go out with your friends, and you don't see them a lot because the rest of them are married as well. And you tell your wife in advance, yo, August 11th, me and the boys are hanging out. I'm just letting you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, obviously, especially if you have children and y'all got things to do, you want to take that into account. And she says, okay, great. Put it in the calendar, whatever, boom. Then out of nowhere, she wants you to cancel those plans to spend time with her or take the kids somewhere because you can't do it. You know, maybe if you're just and have a relationship with you're just with a girlfriend, she wants you to cancel those plans. And maybe you even told her in advance, this date, I'm going out with the guys. It's a boys' night. And then out of nowhere, like 24 hours before, she asks you to cancel those plans to spend time with her. And you know you really don't want to do this. You're looking forward to being with your friends. And I always encourage men to have a friend group, right? And don't isolate. And it's important for you to be around other healthy masculine energy. If your friend group is like that, if your friend group isn't like that, then maybe it's time for you to get another friend group and meet men somewhere else, right? So I'm just saying, she asked you to cancel, right? For X, Y, and Z reason. And you say yes, and you really don't want to. You really want to say no and maybe even like renegotiate this or find out what this is all about, because maybe this is something she usually normally doesn't do. Maybe she's testing you. Maybe she really wants to spend time with you, but maybe she's also testing you to see what you're going to say. And if she can reel you in to do what she wants, because that's the thing, when you don't stand firm in that boundary and you say yes and you really wanted to say no, well, yeah, great, she gets what she wants, but then that also means that you're not getting what you want. And it's not just about you. You're in a relationship, obviously, but you're telling her secretly, energetically, that it's okay to do this. My life, my plans, my shit don't matter. And being in a relationship is very nuanced. It's not black and white. So yeah, I'm using this very simple example. Maybe she was asking you to cancel for a really serious thing of why, why, right? I'm using a very black and white example that can be black and white, but life doesn't always work like that, and nor do relationships, nor do women. For the men out there, you know this. We're very complex individuals, right? And the human experience is not always just black and white. But I'm using this example just as an example. Take it or leave it. But it's energetically and subconsciously telling her, like, this is okay. And when I have plans set, they don't matter. So you can come in and like cancel them, and I'll say yes all the time, anytime, always. And you say no. You say yes when you want to say no. And now there's something building within you, possibly resentment, because you've agreed to this. And then it may start to become a pattern, right? And now she's running all over you, not caring, not really being aware maybe how important that plan for you to go out with the boys was, just to help lift your spirits, reignite your masculinity, just to help be around other men and get out the house, which is something like I think men should do. It's healthy if you're going to do some healthy stuff. You might be going to get into trouble, and I don't know, but tis life. So Bugs Life said, I'm not a little girl, so I'll just respect you. Well, maybe it's because that's something you value, so you won't disrespect a man, right? Or if you're a guy, right? Maybe that's something that's important to you and you value. So I say this to say, it all comes down to you. So if you're not respecting yourself, she won't either. And it won't just be women, it will be men too. Like, if you don't respect yourself, your friends won't respect you. and they'll try their hand and they'll try to run all over you. But at the end of the day, is that your truth? And is that the man that you want to be in this world and want to express? Somebody who doesn't matter, who doesn't speak up for himself, who doesn't set those boundaries. But you know, the great thing about this is you can always change it, right? You can make a different choice instead. So what I suggest is, if you constantly crumble when somebody asks you something, regardless if you have plans or not, and you usually say yes, start leaning into saying no and see how that feels, right? See what comes up for you when you do that and speak your truth and be honest and use your voice. And look, at the end of the day, if they're asking you something, everything can be renegotiated. Maybe it's not necessarily a no, but it's a no right now. Like, oh, I need you to take me to Walmart and get something. You know, do you mind doing that? No, I can't take you to Walmart on Sunday. I'm watching football. But you can renegotiate and be like, I can take you on Thursday, you know? And like I said, it depends on the relationship and the dynamic in that relationship. But if you're in a relationship with a woman, that can help flip the polarity, which is reversed. Because if you're constantly saying yes when you want to say no, then you're being passive and you're being like in feminine energy, right? Wounded feminine too. I won't even say healthy feminine, because healthy feminine women know how to speak up as well, but their approach may be different and sound more softer, right? But and if you're in a relationship with a woman where she's constantly being like, yo, I need you to do this, this, and this, cancel your plan, can you do this? You know, you're putting her in the driver's seat. And if you're constantly saying yes to something you want to say no to, you're putting her in the driver's seat of your life. You're making her the authority instead of you being the main character in your own story. So notice if you crumble and don't uphold to a boundary, or you want to set a boundary and you haven't been able to do that. Start speaking your truth and doing it and having those conversations with people. And look, go into the conversations, not necessarily always speaking from here, but speaking from here a little bit. I know sometimes that can be difficult for a man to do that, but see if you can speak from here, the heart, and also not be attached to how they're going to respond. Letting them have their own experience in their response, right? If you say no and look at them with the poker face and be like, no, I can't do it. I'm not doing it. And see what happens. But that's a way to rebuild the respect. You know, I always say this, a woman, well, I can't speak for all women, but I'd always choose for a man to be honest with me, even if I don't like the answer and I don't want to hear the answer, because that, at least I know, like, yo, he was man enough to be honest with me. And that alone, I have respect for him for that. Even if I don't want to hear it, right? Even if it's an answer I don't want to hear. That alone, I have respect for. So women are attracted to honesty, to a man who knows how to set boundaries, speak those out, have them, and let himself live by them. Because when you don't, then you're just like a tumbleweed rolling in the desert, right? With no direction. People can knock you here and knock you there, and you will say yes to everything and overgive to prove and get your needs met. But ask yourself, is that really how you want to live? And it doesn't have to play out in relational dynamics. It can be at your job. It can be at your business, and you're letting clients do this. You know, it could show up in so many different ways that you're not aware. So start to be very aware of that. Start to have the mindset of, I'm a man who sets boundaries, and that's okay. And I'm willing to be disliked if that comes up when I set my boundaries, because I always say this, masculine men do not give a fuck about being liked. You know, confident, masculine men who speak their truth, who are honest, are okay with setting boundaries and letting everybody just have their experience, whether they're going to be liked or not, or somebody's going to be unhappy or not. It's okay. They won't die. They'll be fine. And at the end of the day, even if they come out, they don't like you anymore, they'll have respect for you. And you'll have respect for yourself. That's a way for you loving yourself when you're able to speak your truth and set boundaries. A great form of self-care for men out there. It doesn't have to be like bath salts and going to a spa like a woman, but that's cool too if you're a man and you're taking care of yourself in that way. So I love this work that I do, that I get to do with men, and I love supporting you to stand in your healthy masculine and express that out into the world that fits you. And if you know you struggle with boundaries or you have none at all, right? Or maybe you want to set some new ones, level up so that it's getting more in aligned with the life that you want to build. This is what I help support men with in the masculine confidence audit. And what that is, I know it may sound complicated, right? Because of the name, right? But it's just a 60-minute laser focused coaching call where we work on all of this. And one of the main points around the transformation you get to experience coming out of that is more presence, more confidence that's going to strengthen your masculinity, because we go into, you know, what is your relational dynamics in the past with, what has that been with other women? And it doesn't have to be romantic. It can be with your mother, your sister. You know, I've helped men, and I've heard men who like struggle with setting boundaries with the feminine energy that's in their life. And if you are single, but your mother or your sister or a family member that's a woman or not is disrespecting you, not respecting your boundaries in any way, that's a great way to practice, right in the family dynamic, if you just happen to be single. So it doesn't have to be, oh, she's the past relational dynamics as a whole comes up in this audit, because it's important to be aware of where you are and where you want to go in relational dynamics with women and everybody beyond. So we look at that to see how it's affecting you now, and that influences how you act with people, how you interact with people. So we go into that, and we go into what's blocking you in the masculine confidence audit, especially if it's something that is underlying to block your confidence, or you have resistance around building it. So if you're interested in that, you're going to see it in the description below. You can click on the link and get that, and then you get an email from me after you purchase, and you can schedule your session right away. And so I'm really excited to be rolling this out, and I've only offered it out to my people on YouTube. I haven't even told the rest of my audience in other places and people that are on my email list. So I'm offering it here first because it's now at a special price, and then that will be going up. But I am so happy for everybody who chimed in and came here on the live to join me and chimed in on the conversation and dropped some comments. And if you haven't been here before, I've been going live every day. So I'll see you tomorrow. It's been different times. I'm testing time slots. So we'll see what time I pop up tomorrow. If you don't get here live, the replay will be posted. And if I don't see you on a YouTube live, I'll see you in the next video, or possibly on Zoom when you buy the Masculine Confidence Audit. Until then, I'll see you soon. Ciao.